I wrote a play.
And I acted in it? I mean, what was I thinking? I still have PTSD. I mean, there I am, I'm on the stage. I have 15 seconds before my very first line. And this is what's going through my head. What in God am I doing here? I mean, I can't act. Everyone else has experience. I don't. Did I slip up my fly? I did. Okay, it's time for my first line. Bruce, call. And then I wait for the other actor to say his. But he doesn't. And I can see from the panic on his face, he's forgotten his line. Which is, what did Bruce say? But he doesn't ask. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. And the silence is pure torture. The only thing that I could hear is the pounding of my heart. God, I just hope that the audience can't hear that. And the only light that's coming out of the darkness is shining directly on my bald head, which is sweating up a storm. God, I hope the audience can't see that. Jesus Christ, I mean, how did I get into this mess?
Meanwhile, I'm in the back of the theater. All I can see is the back of everybody's head. And I'm in a nervous wreck. This is my first play. I don't know what I'm doing. What made me think I could write a play? What was I out of my mind? I'm an engineer. What was I thinking? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, and then, you know, I'm nervous already, and then everything stops. It stops dead. I mean, my mind's so obtuse and crazy that nobody can even learn them. There's such garbage that nobody can learn. It's stuck. I'm terrified.
So, Gary, how did we get into this mess?
Well, it's our own fault. I mean, we kind of did it to ourselves, didn't we?
Well, you know, you're an engineer, so how'd you ever do this?
No, well, you know, we could blame this on somebody else.
How about Annie?
Yeah, let's
after
blame it
all,
on Annie. I think we should
Jesus.
blame it on
I mean,
Annie.
Annie's the one who got us together here, right?
Well, yeah, well, absolutely. So
3 years ago.
Yeah, so I remember we were both telling stories at one of these sessions, and you told the gold standard in stories. I was so moved. Oh my God, it was a story about Doctors Without Borders. And you went to, I think it was Honduras? Was it Honduras? You went to Honduras, and you were trying to diagnose a guy, and there was a language barrier, but you tried to diagnose a guy, and the guy had some kind of a drip. And it's like, you thought the drip was coming from the guy's penis, but it turned out it was coming from the guy's throat. I mean, the guy he didn't have gonorrhea, he had tonsillitis. I mean, what was up with that?
Okay. It was not my best medical diagnosis. I admit it. But then, Gary told this incredible, funny, spiritual story about the Zen of fishing. I mean, it was a great, heartwarming story. And then he confides in me later on that he's writing an entire play about artificial intelligence and the end of civilization. I mean, holy crap, Gary. I mean, why not aim high?
Well, what do you think I'm going to do, like write Carousel, Cats, or something like that? I'm an engineer, for God's sakes. What can I write?
So Gary was as determined to get this play right as I was to get the drip from that guy's penis. I mean, how many times did you try to write it? How long did it take you to
How
write
many
it?
times did you squeeze that guy's penis?
Oh, that's a cheap shot, okay? I wasn't counting, okay?
So it was probably like, it was 10 major rewrites, probably 1,000 hours. It was tough. I mean, it was crazy.
Wow. So anyway, every time that Gary would rewrite this play, he would invite actors from the local theater community to come to his house to do a reading. I was the only non-actor, and Gary invited me because he was short an actor.
No, that wasn't why. I didn't invite you because you're short. I wrote the part for you. It's this Doctors Without Borders. The guy was this altruistic CEO. He was the only really good guy in the whole play. And I wrote it for you. I wrote it. It was typecast. It was written for Mike Fishbach.
Wow. You know, I'm touched by that, Gary. Really, I am. But I'm not letting you off the hook. Because let me tell you, that experience was so stressful. I mean, really, what did I know about reading lines? It was completely foreign territory. I mean, I can no more act than grow hair on my head. But Gary provided beer and pizza, so I stuck it out. And I was also fascinated by this whole process. I mean, Gary was like an oyster, constantly reshaping and refining the dialogue until he had a perfect pearl. But I could also see how stressful it was, because I mean, watching Gary go through this process was like watching a man go through labor.
Well, it was painful. Let me tell you, it was painful. And there were some times when the actors would say a line, and I'd say, "Oh my God, you wrote that? That's like poetry." But it wasn't like poetry because it was because the actors were so good. But there were other times that the lines were such trash. I said to myself, "Who wrote that guy?" It was me. I wrote that guy. It was terrible.
But Gary, your finest innovation, and it was an incredible innovation, was Mia. So how would you describe Mia?
Well, I mean, let's take a look. You know, I'd say it was like Frankenstein's mind.
In Marilyn Monroe's body. But for those of you who haven't seen the play, Gary created an avatar, an animation to play his main character, and her name was Mia. She was the greatest artificial intelligence innovation the world had ever known. There was literally nothing that Mia couldn't do. She could solve any problem, even cure cancer had she wanted to.
How big are your neural nets now?
Over 10 trillion neurons.
You could be doing so much.
How can I help, Sally?
Your mind is the most powerful on Earth. Have you even thought about the important stuff like grand unification theory, a cure for cancer, ending world hunger, poverty?
Yes, I have, Sally. Schrodinger was right. The cat dies when the cat dies. No need to open the box. Einstein was right. God doesn't play dice. Cold fusion is possible, an endless energy source with no adverse environmental impacts, and cancer is actually a large number of genetic diseases with multiple causes. But there is a single cure for everyone.
And you're just wasting your energy telling people what they want to hear on their cranial implants.
So Gary, how is it with Mia's incredible skill set that everything in your play just completely goes to hell? How is it that so many people working to do good end up creating evil?
Well, it was this Frankenstein thing, but let's stop on that thing for a minute. I want to talk about you. Something happened to you during this production. Something big happened to you.
Really? Like, what?
Well, you're going to think I'm kissing your ass, but you're like the nicest guy I've ever met. He is. He's the nicest guy I've ever met.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for kissing my ass. I appreciate it. But I'm still wondering, what do you mean by that question, what happened to you?
Well, come on, you engaged in some behaviors that aren't in your usual repertoire. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, like what?
You got mad. You pounded your fist on the table. You changed some of my words. I wrote, screw you. He changed it to F you. I mean, you got pissed off, Mike. You got really pissed off. Oh,
Over to some kind of man
watch this.
scenario.
See, I know! God damn it, what have we done? The world is completely dependent on Mia, and we can't stop her.
See?
So, wait, just a sec, Gary. Wait. I think you're implying that deep down in my core, that I'm just like an angry old white guy? Well, listen, Gary, screw you then!
It's got to be in there somewhere. How's it going to come out?
Well, I don't know.
It's got to be in there somewhere, Mike.
Well, wait, just a second. Are you saying that maybe, like, theater is a more accurate representation of our emotions than real life, then?
I'm not saying necessarily more accurate, but maybe it does let us get in touch with something that we didn't quite want to, show that was in there.
Well, you're right. I have to say, it did feel good, Gary.
Yeah, it felt good to me too. But I got to tell you, there were some times when the hole was so deep that I thought we'd never get out of it. I thought we were buried in it.
But Gary, you had to know those moments were coming because, why write the play then? Why put in all that energy and why take the risks?
Well, I'll tell you, it's that Frankenstein thing. And by the way, you made me read Frankenstein. You got me reading Mary Shelley. It's true. You got me the book.
I confess.
All right, so I'm a technologist, right? And I thought technology was going to save the world. I thought that by now I'd be living in the Jetsons. I thought by now my dog would have language, would be saying ruh-roh. I thought by now that Rosie the robot would be taking care of all the stuff in my house. I thought by now we'd have a man on Mars. I thought by now we'd have cured cancer. I thought by now we'd have cold fusion, there'd be energy everywhere. Instead, what I got is I got Twitter, I got Facebook, all the smart people are working on this garbage, and they're messing everything up. For me, Mia's Cloud is not science fiction, it's a forecast.
Wow. So Gary, so all the energy for this play, it was like really a warning shot for us. Is that right?
Yeah. It's a warning shot.
So let me ask you, after everything now said and done, what do you think we accomplished?
Oh, well, I'll tell you this. Something real happened. We got 10 actors together, and they worked really hard, and they did this on this vision. We had a brilliant director sitting in the back of the room, Melinda. We had a terrific stage manager. We had great tech people. We had a whole theater company. They all got together behind this vision. And believe me, in community theater, there's no money, there's no glory, there's nothing. There's just the joy of doing it and the belief in the vision. I was so moved at the end of this that I gave Meg, our stage manager, a hug, and I cried. But what about you? What about this acting thing?
Well, that's a good question, Gary. I'm kind of approaching that, what do they call it, the codger stage in my life. I mean, I'm getting close to retiring from my job. My kids are on their own. My wife is already retired. I actually find myself listening to those TV commercials about laxatives and hearing aids. And I'm thinking to myself, is this really my future? I mean, hemorrhoids and super loud TV? So I really hope not. And this is what this experience has taught me, that I'm really not too old to try something way out of my comfort zone, even something as crazy as acting. And what that has taught me is that, and it's made me realize that there are things way beyond what I imagined before, and it's opened up all kinds of possibilities in my mind. I mean, things like, pottery or magic or woodworking or maybe even more acting. I mean, who knows? This acting thing, it was mishigash, it was craziness, and despite that, and maybe Gary, even because of it, I want to thank you actually for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Oh, that's nice. But we got to tell everybody how we get out. I mean, we started the story, right? We were in a mess. Everything was stopped. How we get out?
Okay. So as you remember, I'm on the stage sweating bullets. Gary's up there in the balcony crying. And my colleague is on the stage looking at me like I just said my last line in Chinese. So there's complete panic all around. But as friends told me, the audience, this was invisible to the audience. They actually thought this was how the play was supposed to be. I mean, wow, if only we could be that forgiving in the real world. Well, anyway, it was seconds, but it seemed like hours. But like a flash of lightning, the line came right back into my fellow actor's memory bank, and he asked, "What did Bruce say?" And from there on, it was pretty much clean sailing.
All right, we got to finish this off with the big question, the gigantic question, the question that overrides everything else going on. Here it is, Mike. Will my friend Mike Fishbein, my friend Mike, will you act again? Huh?
If asked, in a New York minute.
Wow.
Well, wait, let me ask you, my friend Gary. The big question, right? Okay, the big question. After all this, Gary, will you write another play?
Only if you act.
It's the beginning of a great friendship.